Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Dark Roast. I am Donna Stroll and I am here with the always lovely and talented Rose Short. And today's discussion is going to be about emails and funnels, how to automate, it, even if you're starting from nothing. I figured that today we would tailor this one more for beginners and technophobes who are like the second they hear the word funnel go, oh my God, no. Or, email list. What's that? I don't want to. Um,
We know a few of those.
yeah. And so this is all about, why they matter and some really simple tips if you're starting from zero or, whether you've been in the online marketing space for a while, but you have never actually decided to create an email list, or you've always had your funnels pre-built for you, those kinds of things, or you've looked at it, but you don't really want to. Maybe you've been in the FYI for a while or done for you, and now you're thinking maybe I need to branch out. This is probably the best where we're going to do that for you today. That's our goal.
Yes. Yeah. People get kind of scared off at the word automation because they think like AI taking over and like the bots and all that kind of stuff. But you can easily automate stuff on your own and it doesn't have to sound like a bot because it shouldn't be a bot doing it, right? Not to
Yeah.
say that you can't use AI to help you craft your emails in a better way or anything like that. But yeah, you definitely don't want to come across as a robot. So automation doesn't necessarily have to mean AI.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be as in depth as like your chat bots and all of that sort of stuff. Automation it is very, you can start off really simple. And so, that's where your emails and your funnels do come in, because those are automation. They're going to do work for you when you're not around.
Yep. It's just like brand recognition with your videos, right? It keeps you top of mind. So, email marketing has an ROI of 4,200%, which is
Yeah.
insane, right? $42 for every dollar spent. Now, obviously, this is from a well built out system. It's not going to happen overnight. But that is huge. And that is why you've seen an uptick in, you go to a website and within 10 seconds, there's a pop up that's like, hey, subscribe for 10% off or 25% off or whatever it is, right? You get the coupon, they get your email, and then that's when you start getting the emails from them all the time. And it's not somebody sitting there scheduling them out, I promise, or sending them in real time. Like they're scheduled out, and each person that joins starts on the front of the automation. So it makes it so
Yeah.
much
And
easier.
even on the low end of average, it's like $36 for every
Mm-hmm.
$1 spent. So that's, that's still really good.
That's better than
And
ad
then,
spend.
yeah. And your automated emails, they produce more revenue, right? So non-automated ones where you have to like go and send that email on the regular basis, you end up with consistency issues both in the way that the emails are written and also in the timing. So maybe people are better to respond at 7 in the morning because they're checking their emails before they head off to work. But if you send it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's not going to go. Or, you send it when you've got the time and you're not hitting them at their peak times, that can make a difference. But if you have it automated, and so you figured out that, yeah, your target audience works 9 to 5, so you're sending them emails either at 7 in the morning or you're sending them at 6 o'clock at night, so at a time, or maybe you're sending it during their lunch break, something like that, where you've decided this is probably the best time to get that feedback. If it's automated, you never have to worry about missing that window of time. And also, if it's automated, you can batch create your email sequence so that there is continuity all the way through.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're doing them as one-offs, you might not have that continuity. So then it just becomes an email. They're not pen pals.
Yeah, and almost every autoresponder has a stats scene where it'll show you the open rate, the click rate, all that kind of stuff. So you can use that data pretty easily to figure out what the best timing is. And even though we think about email being kind of outdated, statistically, still more people check email than social media. And the nice thing about the email is it's stuff that they've, well, should be stuff they've subscribed to, or it's more personal than like your feed on Facebook or on Instagram, because yeah, it's people you follow, but then there's also suggested accounts and all kinds of other stuff, whereas your email should just be information that you want. And that's why it's super important that you include an unsubscribe, because there's laws requiring it. But you don't want to piss people off. You want your unsubscribe to be pretty easy. You can add a lot of them are adding a poll now that it's like, oh, well, why are you unsubscribing? Did we do something? Is it something else? But, you know, if you're getting stuff you don't want, it's not that hard to unsubscribe. It's better to unsubscribe than just not open it, because people not opening emails from an email list will hurt the integrity of that business, which I don't think a lot of people realize. So,
Yeah.
email lists are great, but and that's why it's important to clean up your list too. Like, track if a certain email address isn't opening your stuff at all, and then maybe send them a nudge of like, hey, you haven't opened an email, or even just remove them to keep your list clean.
And you can actually factor that into your automation as well, is that if they haven't opened it in the last 30 days, you automatically send this nudge, and then you can do a purge. If you're not going to answer, if you really don't want this, we'll have to remove you just to keep our list clean. Lots of people might actually respond to that. It's surprising, like I know myself. Sometimes I'll see them. I'm like, yeah, no, I haven't opened you for a while because it's no longer valid for me. I've just been too lazy to unsubscribe. Thank you for
Yep.
unsubscribing me. And the other thing about, people checking their email more than social media, an email is static. So they can go back to it. They can maybe open it and went, oh, I'll come back to that. And they can easily do that because it's there. It doesn't scroll off, out of sight, out of mind.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another reason why. So for the people who, I don't even have a list yet, like, right? So, there's a few steps that you can take to start building your list. It doesn't have to be an extreme sport, right? You don't have to go crazy, and you can start off slow. So you create a freebie or a giveaway or a webinar or something to get people to sign up. You're going to offer them some value at no cost to them. Like I say, whether it's a freebie or a webinar or something like that, you're going to provide something to them, even if it's like a checklist. And then they're going to be willing to give you their email in response for that, right?
Oh yeah.
You make sure that it's relevant, right, to whatever it is that you're promoting. So, if you're in the make money online, right, whatever you're promoting to them to give to them for free, better really tie into that. If your thing is golfing and you're selling, like, golf clubs and all that, maybe you need to create something on like how to improve your swing, or how to, you know what the best clubs are, where to buy them, or whatever. It can be any of that kind of thing,
Yeah.
right?
And then use a beginner friendly platform, right? Get Response is a great one. System.io is a great one. Um,
ConvertKit is super easy to use as
ConvertKit,
well.
yeah. MailerLite is another one. The main thing you want to make sure is, like, you want to tie in a professional email. You don't want to be sending from a Gmail. Both Gmail and Yahoo actually recently made it almost impossible for you to do that because of the amount of scamming that was coming from emails like that. But you want it to be a very easy and concise email that flows with what you're doing, or like is easy for people to type in,
Yeah.
but relates to what your industry is. So, and you can use like Zoho Mail and stuff like that too to get that and connect it all. But it's super easy, right? You have your opt-in, you send the free download, and then from there you can send anything. I mean, if you have a blog, a YouTube channel, and we so often think of an email list as like, oh, we got to be selling something all the time. You don't, though. You can do a weekly update email or a newsletter, or like a, hey, I just put out this video on YouTube you might be interested in. Like, there's all kinds of things you can do with an email list beyond just selling.
Yeah, and especially if you're just starting out, maybe that is your goal, is not necessarily to create it as an instant sales platform. but to start building up where they're looking forward to seeing your emails because they know they're going to be getting some really cool stuff, some information or whatever. As far as like getting a business email, I know that like one that I've used is INS, IONOS. Um, I get a business email and a domain name for now it's like $2 a month.
Nice.
There's no hosting involved, but I don't need it. Like with ConvertKit, I don't need it. With System.io, I don't need it. If you're going to create a funnel and you're going to use something like System.io, which is free, you don't need it. You just need a domain name and a business email, and then that way you've got that, and you're not putting out extra expenses for something you don't need. But
Yeah.
it's going to make it a lot easier for you to have that business email really cheap. So
Yeah. The one thing I would say with email lists that I think everyone kind of forgets is test it. Like,
mhm.
make sure, test your flows, and test that the emails are going to
Oh
the
yeah.
inbox. If they're going to your own junk folder, definitely mark it safe. You want to be on your email list so that you know what your customers are getting or potential clients are getting. That way you can see, especially if you do it right when you start, you'll be able to see issues in the automation or in, the consistency or whatever before it gets sent out to other people. Then you'll have time to fix it.
The other thing that'll allow you to do is to check to make sure, like if you're using certain tags, um, like blocks, like first name,
Mm-hmm.
it actually says the first name and not just first name.
I love when I get those.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, that really takes the personal out of it if those little blocks come in and don't actually work.
Yeah.
So that's important. And
And
yeah,
your
like you say,
links.
hmm?
And your
Like,
links. Make sure your links are working.
yep. Yeah, because you make sure that everything is working the way that you want to. You should always, always, always test first. You know, make your list of one, sign up, test it, make sure it's working. So,
Yep. Okay, so now let's get into funnels. 'Cause I think you're right. This is a word for some people.
and it really doesn't have to be. I
No.
mean, um, you can get really in depth with your funnels, but if you're just starting out, go simple. Like, go so simple, right? Because basically, a funnel is somebody who's a stranger who's now become a subscriber. They're reading what you're sending, and then they decide to buy, and they become a friend or a fan, and then they buy again, right? And that's what you're trying to do. So a funnel is just guiding them on that path. So again, you start with your lead magnet, right? Something that's going to get them to your funnel, right? And that funnel can be something as simple as an opt-in form and a thank you page. It doesn't have to be any more in-depth than that. Now, you can make it bigger than that, but if you're just starting out, keep it simple. You know, make your opt-in page professional, make it relevant, but it doesn't have to be the endless scroll. You don't have to sell anything on it. What you're selling, it's a lead capture page is what it is.
Hmm.
That's a funnel as well. It's the one that's capturing your leads. It doesn't have to be sales right off the bat.
And it
And that,
doesn't have. Oh, good.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say it doesn't have to be like 5 scrolls worth of depth either. Like I know there's a psychology behind why they do that, but some of the most highly performing funnels are just a simple box on a background.
Yeah.
Because some people get information overload. And like I'm one of those people where I'm like, just take me to the theme. I don't care about your backstory. Like I don't need all this
Yeah.
information. I don't
Where
need
is the
30.
information I
Yeah,
want?
exactly. So I mean, there's an argument for both, obviously, and like split test it, right? Have one that's just the simple opt-in, and have one that has like your bio or why you started or why you did it or whatever, and see which one performs better.
Yeah. And I mean, it also depends on what your purpose is, right? Like if you're doing a sales page, it might be longer
Hmm.
than just an opt in page. Um, and this is where I was saying, like, System.io, right, is free and they have templates for you that you can use. ConvertKit is also free. I think it's just Kit now. Um, also free, and you can start setting up digital products on there when you're ready, and it all ties in together. They have templates as well. Super easy to use, very WYSIWYG, so not a lot of trying to figure it all out. You can just plug and play stuff. Um, System.io has a very good tutorial system to walk you through, and they have a good Facebook group page again where if you find yourself stuck, you can walk through some stuff. So it doesn't have to be super super challenging. I think when people think setting up a funnel and getting everything connected, it can feel very overwhelming, especially if you're not techie in any way, shape, or form, or if that's just something that you've been dreading because you're afraid you're going to make a mistake. Make mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You cannot move forward if you don't make mistakes because you don't know what works and what doesn't at that point. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Do it small, right? Once you have that opt-in form and the your thank you page set up, you do want a thank you page so people know that something's actually happened, and you can tell them that whatever you're sending them, whether it's a link to, whether it's to the webinar or whether it's to something that they're going to download or something that they're going to get in email, you can tell them in your thank you page that, it coming to you shortly, right? And then that should kick in your email sequence, which is usually what, 3 to 5 emails. It's basic. This is where you're going to introduce yourself. You're going to give some value. You're going to build some trust, right?
Yeah.
That's what your initial email sequence is really for, is to help build up that trust and get them more comfortable with you.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be every day. Like I think that's where a lot of beginners struggle is they send an email every day.
Yeah, I
And
personally, I don't think it should be every day. At most, like every other day.
yeah.
Um, unless like once you're fully set up, then yeah, you can have emails every day. But even Rachel Peterson, who this is her life's blood, she'll go on spurts where it might be every day, especially if she's promoting something very specific that's coming out. But most of the time, I get like maybe 2 or 3 emails from her in a week.
Yeah.
Unless she's promoting something big that's just coming out, and then I will start getting them every day. But then they
Yeah.
taper back down. So and then at the end of that sequence, once you've built that value and that trust, then you can sort of do a soft pitch to whatever your main thing is that you're trying to sell, right? So you've laid the groundwork first before basically buy my shit.
Yeah.
So
Excuse me. All
and
right.
then after that sequence is done, then you're going to have your ongoing weekly or regular emails, whether it's a newsletter or something like that, where you're sending it out bi-weekly, maybe, whatever,
Yeah.
however you're going to do that. And like you say, like I said with Rachel, she has her slow schedule, but then she does ramp that up when she has something new to promote. And that's
Yeah.
when, like, you could do the same thing, have something that's less often, but you can always ramp it up during those times.
Yeah, and you can put people on multiple lists too. So if like having a separate newsletter list works better for you, because then your newsletter is going out once a week or whatever, do that. And then also have your sales list or whatever it may be. Like you can definitely use separate tags to put one person on different lists of yours. Um, Again, just be strategic about like you don't want to hit them with a lot of information too quickly, or they will stop opening or unsubscribe very quickly.
Yeah, yeah. And you got to make sure that, again, you have that unsubscribe option on there. I know with System.io, it automatically puts it on there, and I believe Kit does as well. I'm sure that other email programs also put that in there. You can customize it, but it still has to be there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's important. I mean, some of them actually allow you to tailor it. So if they say too many emails, then you give them the option to only receive like a batch email at the end of the week instead of everything all every day, because maybe some people prefer to see it like that instead, right?
Yeah.
So
So what are some actual steps you can take, right? So set up the low stress stuff first, right? So your welcome sequence, which should be 3 to 5 emails. And that's where you're going to introduce yourself, deliver your value, and then kind of lightly tease your offers, but don't, so you're not battering ramming it into their heads that, you want to make money off them. It's more of a, this is what you signed up for. This is where it comes from. This is what I have to offer, but it's not super pushy. And then you want to do like a tester email, right? So, um, since you grabbed this, I think you might be interested in this. Kind of tying it back to the freebie of like, hey, you grabbed this freebie, but have you checked this out as well, kind of thing.
And that's a good way to do a low ticket product. So, like, say you have your high ticket item, but maybe you've got like a low ticket, like just a little extra support. Maybe it's just a digital product or something that's low value. And you're going to do that towards the end of your sequence, not at the beginning of your sequence.
Yeah, for sure. And then again, tag and segment. And I think segmentation is something that is not talked about a lot and is not really understood. But as your list gets more complex, you're going to need to separate, right? And that's kind of what we were talking about of if you have separate lead gen forms, maybe it's for separate products, you want those automations to be separate. And if you're getting kind of cold emails from somewhere, or if you're paying for solo ads, stuff like that, you might want to have them on a copy of an automation so you can kind of weed out the people that are just clicking to click versus the ones who are actually interested, just to keep, again, your list clean, and keep your automation host from questioning you, right? Because a lot of them, again, with all the scams and whatnot, a lot of these autoresponder companies are working harder to keep the integrity of their business.
Yeah.
And so if you're not getting a lot of open rates, but you're getting a lot of emails, they're going to be like, hey, like, where are these emails coming from? Are you, because they don't want you buying email lists, which makes sense.
Yeah. And when we say tags, I know it sounds like it, oh, you don't have to go and physically go, okay, this person's here and this person's here. Like, you don't have to separate that out manually. You can literally just, when you're setting up your automation, and again, there's tutorials for step by steps on how to do that. It's pretty simple. You just say, okay, free ebook. That's the tag. So anybody who comes in off of this particular sign up gets tagged with free ebook. And now I have this email sequence for that. Whereas this one was for a newsletter. So now they're going to go over here. This one was for solo ads and you've got that tag. So it just automatically funnels them so that you don't have to go, well, where did they come from? And where did and I got to make sure that I put them. No, you do not have to play the musical chairs. Just let the automation do that for you. So.
Yep. Love it.
So, I mean, for content, obviously 80-20 rule, as we've said before, 80, at least 80% value and then the 20% pitch. And that might be a little bit less sometimes, especially if it's really new or if you don't have a lot to send off right now and you're just actually building up your list through value. That 20% pitch, that's the maximum that you're going to want to do, not the minimum, right?
Yeah.
um, and talk like a real person, right? It's okay if you're going to use AI to help you create your email sequences, but you have to go through them and adjust them and tweak them to make them sound like you. Because if you write super professional, but that is not how you normally speak or act, or that's not your persona online or whatever you're doing, they're not going to resonate, right? They're going to see this one person that they jive with, and then they're going to get emails from somebody that doesn't connect. So just make sure that it's really you, right? Like for us, coffee, right? We're big on the coffee thing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you can probably bet that any emails from us that come from us are going to have some, are going to occasionally reference, coffee or sarcasm.
Yeah. And it's not any more cheating than getting big and hiring a team to write your copyright, right? It's the exact same. So, for the people out there who are like, oh, the AI is cheating, It's really not, and it's saving you from having to go out and hire a really good copywriter, which is probably
Yeah,
going to save you a lot of money in the long run. Nothing against
yeah. I mean,
copywriters. I mean, there's definitely a place for them. But if
yeah,
you're just starting out, you don't have the money.
yeah. So I mean, this is for as you grow and expand, your opportunities and your support systems are also going to grow and expand. Like even creating bigger funnels and all those things, you'll be able to hire someone to do that so that again, it's not something that you have to deal with, right? We do what
Yeah.
we can with what we have,
Yep.
all right? And we start where we are. So if we're starting at the beginning and we're dealing with what we have at the time, you use AI to help you create the series, and then you can go in and edit it to make it more personal and to make it more real. Like you might go, yeah, no, I would never say that. So fix it, change it. But at least
Yep.
now you have the structure so that you can go forward from there.
Yeah.
Um, and then you're going to want to add a call to action. Now, a call to action is not always sales, right? It could just be hit reply and tell me what you think. Maybe you put out some value. Tell me what will you would love to hear what you thought was the most, which one was your favorite or which was, the most valuable insight you got. Um,
Mhm.
that creates some connection, makes them feel like they're talking again to a real person, that kind of stuff. I mean, obviously, once your email list is going out to thousands, that might be more challenging. But again, by the time you have your email list going out to 500,000 people, you might be able to be in a position where you can just hire somebody to help you sift through those responses and sort that out, right? So,
Yeah.
especially
And
if
you
you
know,
number it. If you
yeah.
number it, then you can then put your own tags in to sort them out that way.
Yep. Yeah, you can always direct them back to your social media too. Be like, hey, if you're on Facebook, connect with me, or like, hey, check out this post on Facebook and let me know in the comments, whatever. Like, there's lots of ways you can do it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, let's say in the next month you're trying to really get this up and running. First step, create your freebie. Right. I am not a fan of the freebie, if anybody knows, but it is a good way to get people on your email list. So create your freebie. Doesn't have to be super complicated. You know, it should look professional, but don't get too perfectionist about it. Set up your opt in and your welcome sequence. Decide on a small, low ticket offer if you have one, or make a complex version of your free offer to sell. And then email at least once a week, even if it's just a like, hey, I did a blog post. Like if you're a blogger, this is perfect, right? Because you're already writing, and then instead of having to, you can either rewrite that blog in an email, or you can summarize the blog and be like, hey, if you want to, read the whole theme, go here. Because then you're also building your other social medias off of your email, which is super
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, you're going to need some tools. You're going to need an email platform, right? So, like we had said, there's ConvertFit. What's the one that you mentioned? What email
Get response.
Get Response. Those are a couple of them. Mailer Life, Flowdesk. You've got your funnel builders, which again, System.io. If you want to go big, you could go high level depending on what you need. Lead pages. So
Yeah. Get response does have a funnel builder and a website builder. It just depends on obviously if you're using the free versus the paid and everything else, like how many you get, all that kind of
yeah.
stuff.
And then for templates, Canva has a ton of them, right? You can buy templates on Etsy for cheap. So depending on what you need, or you can go real simple and go to Google Docs, and create something very simple there because they also have templates. So it doesn't, again, we're going easy to get you started so that your head isn't going to go,
Yeah.
right? And then your link in bio, which is like a mini funnel. So that's like your stand store, your convert kit, your link tree, all of those kind of things will help you. You can create something very simple there to connect people and get what you need. So it doesn't have to be, I think we get sometimes, oh, I got to have all the things and I got to know all the things. And it's like, let's keep this as simple and as easy as just a one, two, three. Don't overwhelm yourself and take all your steps very simply. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yep, just start with one thing a week, right? Like, so maybe this week you create your freebie, and then next week you figure out what email tool you want. The week after that, you do your automation sequence, and then you start building it out. Like, it doesn't have to be all at once. If you have a hard time focusing, if you get brain overload very easily, break it into smaller pieces. Um, we all want that overnight success, but again, overnight successes usually come from years of starting with the little stuff. So just do
Yeah.
it. Having it done is better than having it perfected. Most people don't know that you've messed up, but you.
Yeah. Isn't that the case, right? We
unless you
always see our
send,
own flaws.
yeah. Unless you're sending the same email 5 or 6 times, which I have accidentally done before. No one's gonna realize that you screwed up. And if you screw up, you can just say, "Hey, sorry about that. I screwed up." Right? Like, again, we're
Yep.
human. It's okay to be
Yeah, it
human.
happens. And that also makes. If you found this helpful, please drop a comment, share, and hit that subscribe button. Your feedback is super helpful in growing this channel.
And of course, if you have any questions or if there's any specific thing that you would like us to talk about, drop that in the comments too. Happy Friday!
Happy Friday, everyone.